Today we will be solving and writing some two-step equations. We got to start by writing first, and that's what we'll do once we read the first line here. It talks about how Pat has $447.50 in his savings account. So this is an important amount, so let's go ahead and underline that number. It's in the savings account right now. And each week, so when you see that word each, that typically tells us that we're going to be dealing with a variable, but we don't know until we get to the question. So each week he deposits $7.50 into the account. And then they're asking right here, this is where our variable is going to go, because it's going to tell us how many weeks. So we don't know the number of weeks, so our variable is going to end up being weeks, which I'm going to use W to represent that. They're wanting to know how many weeks will he have $500. Well, have it tells us that that is going to end up being our equal sign there. So this is going to end up being a total amount here. He starts with the set $447.50, and this is our variable amount. The variable amount depends on how many weeks we end up saving for, because 1 week it will be $7.50. After 2 weeks, it'll be double that, which would be $15. So it depends on how many weeks. So you set up the equation this way. You have a variable amount, and then since we are combining that with the starting amount, we're going to add the starting amount. And then this equals the total. And so our variable amount is going to end up being the $7.50 times the number of weeks, because we just don't know how many weeks we're going to be doing it for. And then plus the $447.50 equals, and then we have the $500. So now we're ready to solve. So we're going to do that by doing some opposite operations. So I'll subtract that $447.50. And when I do that, I'm going to end up having to borrow. So I'll have to add the decimal point and borrow. And so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Borrow here. Change the 5 to a 4, 10 to a 9. Another 10 changes to a 9, and then we start doing it. So here we've got a 0, a 5, a 2, decimal point comes straight down there, and then the 9 minus 4 makes 5, so 5250 equals 750 W. So now we're ready to solve again by dividing by 750. So now we set that problem up, 750 into 5250. So the decimal point moves over one space, same thing here. So it's going to come straight up, and we're doing 75 into 525. Now, I'm going to rewrite the problem because I'm going to show you my little shortcut method of helping me figure out what number goes where. And so I'll bring that decimal point straight up. Now, what I do is I cover up this 5, and I cover up this 5, and I think of 7 into 52. Now, it goes 7 times, so I'm going to start with that. I think that's the number, but I'm not positive yet. So let's do the math there, and that makes 35. And then add 3 to 49 makes 52. So it did work out again in this case. So 7 weeks would be our answer. Well, taking a look at the next one, it says the length of a backyard is 22 meters. So let's go ahead and just draw the backyard here. And we'll say this L is the length equals 22 meters. Well, it says that is typically tells us we're dealing with an equal sign. So 22 is 20 feet less than. Okay, I'm going to start with this, 20 feet less than. Whenever I see less than, that means minus. So less than, I'm going to put a minus sign here. Less than 20 means you're taking 20 away. Less than 20, and then it says, or 20 less than, 3.5 times the width. We don't know the width. They're asking how wide, so that's our variable there. So I'm going to use W there. So 3.5 times the width. So 20 less than 3.5 times the width is means equals the 20 meters. So again, when you see that word is, or has, or have, that typically tells you that's what the equation equals. And so now we're ready to solve. So we're going to do that by doing some opposite operations here. add the 20 to both sides. So now I have that 3.5W equals 42. So I just have to divide by 3.5 on both sides. Now I'm moving that decimal point over. That means you add the 0. So really I need to do 35 and do 420. And 35 goes into 42 one time. Do the subtraction. We're left with 7 left over. And bring down that 0. 35 goes into 70 12 times. So 12 feet wide is our answer there. It says the temperature in Dalton, South Dakota is negative 35 degrees. Alright, and that is, okay, they're using that same phrase again. I think they do that for the next one as well. So, well, again, when you see the word is, it's not always going to be that is, but when you see that word, typically that tells you equals. So you just have to start thinking equals. And so 10 degrees warmer. Well, that warmer means plus. So we're going to start with the plus 10, then 1.5 times as cold. 1.5 times as cold as an Alaskan town. What is the temperature of the Alaskan town? We don't know that temperature. Let's use A. And so for the Alaskan town, and that is negative 35, because that's what the temperature in South Dakota is, and they're comparing it to that. So now we are going to do some opposite operations. So take a 10 away from both sides. I've got 1.5A equals, now it's same sign, so you add negative 45. Now let's divide. So we divide by the 1.5. Now whenever I divide by decimals, remember you move that decimal over. That means I have to add that 0. And really I'm doing 15 into 450. Now notice the signs here. We've got one negative. So that means our answer is negative. 15 goes into 45 3 times evenly. And 15 goes into 0 0 times. So negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit in the Alaskan town. Well, last problem. Similar to the last, just different types of wording here. And it says Al studied 40 minutes for an exam. That is. Now again, these examples always use that same phrase, but whenever you see, anytime you see that word, the key word there, and they're comparing that number to something else, then that typically tells you the equals sign. So 8 minutes longer. Longer means addition, so that's why we're going to do plus 8. Then 1/4 the number of minutes. 1/4 the number of minutes. Don't know how many minutes, but that's what they're asking for. How long? How long is minutes? And so we're going to use M for that number. And then it equals Al's amount. So let's go ahead and solve. And so we do that by just doing opposite operations. So I'm going to subtract the 8 from all sides. So now I've got 1/4 M equals 32. So I got one more step here. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. It's going to cancel out those 4's. And do the same thing on the other side. So M equals, multiplying those numbers, gives me 128 minutes is how long Lou studied for. Well, those are the types of problems you're going to see on tonight's homework. Good luck.